Hey everybody, Joy here. It is July 13 or 14, something around there. 2023, it doesn't really matter because I'm actually going to give you some tutorials today. Many of you have asked me over and over and over, we like your tutorials, do more tutorials. So I think I need to label this that it is a tutorial, because people will say, do a tutorial on this or that, and I'll say, well, I already did that. I did that several times, but it's hard to go back for years and figure out which one of my videos I did such and such tutorial in. Now I think you can find my pants tutorials pretty easily. So my tutorial today is on Simplicity 9274, but not really. The tutorials today can be for any pattern, and I use commercial patterns, and I don't use SureFit designs connected with commercial patterns. When I open up a new commercial pattern, I use the Palmer and Plesh method. Now, I'm not affiliated with them whatsoever, other than I think their system is brilliant. And it just boils down to, all you do is pin the pattern together, the paper pattern together, and you put it on your body. Yes, it's paper, and yes, it will tear, and so you give it some stabilization. You draw the seam lines on it, you tape the seam lines, so when you try it onto your body, it just doesn't rip all over the place. But you pull it on, and you can just see, oh no, the center front only comes to here, and my center front is here. Oh no, what am I going to do? And then in the back, it's like, oh no, the center front doesn't come to the middle of my hips, and the center front doesn't come to my back, and the neck doesn't reach up high enough in the back. And so you take these clues from the paper, and then you do your adjustments to the paper. This one happens to have a yoke in the back, so this is just part of the back, but here's the front. And you can see I have a full bust adjustment in this front, and I show you from beginning to end in great detail how I did this on this pattern. And then in the back, because I have to have a round back in order to get this, the back neck, center of my neck in the back, in order to get this up high enough to reach that little bone, it's supposed to reach this little bone here, to get it up high enough, I have to put some more fabric in there. Now, if you ever watch Peggy Sager's Fit Somebody, I don't think I have ever once seen her fit one of her patterns and not have to put a round back in it. I'm like, why doesn't Peggy and all the other pattern companies just put more room back here in the back? Because everybody, even little kids, are hunched over computers nowadays. You know, I wish they would teach them how to sit up straight and how to use a keyboard and where to have it. So all of these little children weren't already looking like 70-year-old people bent over. Very sad. And not to mention the cell phones, same thing. You know, it's like everything has something good, something bad. Every person, 10 good things, 10 bad things. Every personality. You know, the things in your personality that make you really, really good at one thing can make you really, really horrible at another. Do you understand? So that's just kind of the way things are. So we have to work around it. So this is the pattern, Simplicity 9274. I made View B with this really odd sleeve. I made it originally with this sleeve. It's called a flange. This is a different size than I made. That's why it's not cut out. I made the size 12. But oh my goodness, it just stuck out terrible. I looked like a space person. I was getting ready to fly off to the moon or something. So I hated this sleeve. So I took it out and I simply cut out this sleeve and put this sleeve in. So you really don't know the total fit, style, corrections that you're going to want to do until you get your first one made. Now I went ahead and I show you a picture here somewhere how I made two. I cut out two to start with. because I thought, you know, I'd have it good enough that it would fit me, and it pretty much did. I would like to lower the neck a tad. I won't be able to on this one, but on the next one that I already cut out, the bicycles, I will be able to lower the neck on it, because I haven't done the neck yet. This is as far as I've gotten on the bicycle one. You get totally done with your first, let's call it a muslin. It's not a muslin, it's not made out of muslin, don't use muslin. Use a fabric like you're really going to make your tops out of, for one thing. Make your first one, because you don't really know, even though you have done so many things to the paper already, like the sleeve. I didn't know I was going to hate that sleeve until I put it in, and I hated it. Then I added extra, because the pattern says, the pattern envelope says, I'm going to have to make a size 20. I cut out a size 12. I did. I cut out a size 12 at the top, and then I went down to a 14 at the bottom. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to need more room at the bottom. So I showed you how to do the Lorraine Henry method, and I added more room at the bottom. I ended up taking it all out. It was clear out here. Now, maybe the pattern company wants it to be way out there. It looks like maybe they do. But if you don't want yours to be as full, they put a lot of ease in some patterns. And probably in here somewhere they show you the finished measurements. I don't know, I didn't look. But you put it where you like it. It's supposed to be 3 inches longer. I cut 3 inches off of it. I didn't want it that long. And it was quite a bit fuller, and so I took mine in. So this is my finished number 1 muslin. Number 2, which is already cut out and already partially made, I'm going to lower the neck. The neck is okay on this and it doesn't bother me that much, but I just want it a little bit lower. I don't know why. I just want it down here. And you can do whatever you want. It's your pattern. So I'm going to lower the neck. I already know, put the other sleeve in it, and I'll just whip this up, and I'll have 2 more blouses. So that will be 4 new blouses. I'm really enjoying these new woven tops I'm making. I'm not sure I like this color with this darker hair on me, but that's all right. My hair will fade, it always does. It's always so when I first do it. So now you've seen the pattern. Now I'm going to start my, I've got a couple pictures and I've got several tutorials. Let me see, what did I show you? I showed you how to do a full bust adjustment. I showed you how to lower the shoulder. I showed you how to add the round back. I showed you how to add fullness to it if you need to in the bottom. And I think that's all I showed you in this particular pattern. There's so many other things you can do, but this is a real good start on making a pattern fit you and doing the Palmer plush way of doing it. All right, let's get started. I'm going to do a detailed FBA for you. I'm pointing to the apexes, mine and me on the pattern. I held the pattern up to my body and I marked where the apex is. I'm having one of my really good rulers to start drawing lines. An FBA requires 3 lines, and I'm not going to like this red pen. So I'm going to go get a different one so you can see it. I can't teach you if you can't see what I do. Now notice my 3 weights and how I have the pattern lined up on the line on the cutting board underneath it. So it's straight. It's straight up and down on straight of grain, and I have drawn line number 1, and I'm going to label it. You don't have to label it, but I'm going to label it. That's the first line I drew. It's from my apex and the apex on the pattern all the way down through the bottom. Now we're going to draw line number 2 with a different ruler, another wonderful Quilter Select. This one goes up through the armhole. You go about 1/3 of the way up in the armhole curve. Now I've written number 2. That's line number 2. Now we're going to do number 3. Okay, I'm going to just show you here. You can do your dart either straight out or you can slant it down. I like mine slanted down when you have a really big dart, the more you can slant it downwards, even all the way to a French dart, it just looks better. It's got a longer way to go with all that fullness. I'm just showing you here. I could have done it straight, but I don't like mine straight. Now that is line number 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. Now I've got my 3 lines drawn. Now I'm cutting. Can you tell those are my scissors, my play scissors? I'm going to actually use a rotary cutter, and I'm going to cut up line 1 and keep cutting up through line 2. Okay? So I'm not going to quit cut. I mean, I will quit cutting because I've got to turn my ruler, but I'm still going to cut through the apex and up through the arms, armhole, arm curve, whatever you want to call it, and you'll about a third of the way up into that arm curve. Now I just made a big boo-boo, and I'm saying, no, 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 I did it wrong, I did it wrong, I did it wrong. What did I do? I cut through the seam allowance. You're not supposed to cut through the seam allowance. You're going to make a hinge at the seam allowance. So you're going to cut through to the seam allowance, jump, and then cut past it out to the edge. But you just want a tiny, tiny piece still stuck together there. Now I'm going to cut line number 3. Line number 3 goes to, but not through the apex. To, but not through. You can see here. You can see the first line, the first cut through 1 and 2 is totally the whole way. So it's still together, and now I'm going to pull apart the bust dart. Now it's not cut far enough up into the seam in the armhole. I'm showing you there. Cut 2, jump over the apex. Don't cut through the apex. If you do, tape it back together. You got to have a pivot point there. Now, notice that the dart part of the apex is on that dart space. Yeah, I'm going to pull it down. You're going to watch me pull it down. I need 1 inch extra ease in this. In order for center front to meet my center front, I need 1 inch more. So that's why I'm using the board with the inch marks on it. That makes it a lot easier. Now I did not cut close enough to the seam allowance, the 5/8 inch line. So I'm going to take a pair of scissors, because you can get super, super close and just have a tiny little apex like there at the dart point. Now notice how the dart has the apex marked there at the tip, and it just dropped down. I don't know if it dropped down how much when we get done with it. It may be 1 inch, but I'm not sure. You're going to have everything lined up 1 inch apart on the 2 straight vertical lines. You're going to have that whole area with the 2 lines. You're going to have that whole area exactly 1 inch apart. And you can see how easy it is to do when you have the cutting board with the blue grid on it. Okay, so I'm lining up that lower one. Now, I'll tell you, it is so easy. I have made this mistake so many times. To think that that's your apex now, that point right there, that point where my hand is, it's easy to think that's your apex. Number one, the dart points right to it, but that's not your apex. Write this down. Make a great big sign. Look at all the extra. Look at the extra that is in there. The extra for your large bus. And there is the apex that you're going to pay attention to. Not that one. I'm crossing it out. Don't pay attention to that one. Pay attention to the one where my finger is. Make a big red circle, a big red X. Do something so you don't forget that's where you're going to draw your dart to. Otherwise, you will draw it where it is and it will be wrong. I have done it many times, even though I know better. So I'm showing you. This is your apex, this is your apex. It didn't move. It's right where you put it when you put the paper pattern up against your body. It's still in the same place. I'm showing What you do now is you're going to draw your dart from that outside opening in the cutout dart up to that apex. I'm showing you. And then you're going to back off of the apex an inch and a quarter, because nobody wants snow cone boobs. We don't do snow cones. And if you draw your dart all the way to the apex, I'm showing you, back off, back off. You want to be at least an inch away. I want you to see my dart that I cut out. My dart had 3 or 4 pieces of paper stuck together. It was too thick. I had so many lines on it I couldn't even see where to fold it. So what I did was I cut the dart out and I put a new piece of paper in there. And then I folded. You always fold the bottom of the dart up to the top of the dart, because when you sew it in your garment, this is going to go down. You don't want that up, you want it down. Okay? You want this down. So you fold the dart up, and then you'll have all this extra paper out here on the side, so you just trim it on the side seam. And somehow it makes a dart. I don't know how these things happen, I just know they do. I tell you, do it long enough and you just know what happens. Now, I'm going to show you another way that you can change a pattern. This is the Lorraine Henry system. Lorraine Henry is adorable. I've taken all her classes before, but she's going to be at Expo in Irving, Texas in August, and I'm taking her classes again. But this is what she does, and it's lots of fun, but I just like the Palmer plush because you can try the pattern on, and I guess you could this too, but anyway, this is what she does. She simply cuts, I want to add some width down here at the bottom of me, in the back. I've added 2 inches across the front of me because of the FBA. Now, if you don't need this at the bottom, you can actually close this down here. And you can add the fullness up here and then close it down at the bottom. But I always need the extra. That is not a problem. So what you do is you cut up the seam allowance. Cut up, 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 up. Cut to, but not through, the seam allowance. Leave a hinge. Then what you're going to do, look how fun this is. You just pull this out. You just pull that out. Isn't that awesome? You just pull it out. That's all you do. It is amazing. See? You just pull this out. I'm going to add 1 inch. I added 2 inches to the front. I'll add 1 inch here, and that'll make 2 inches in the back. And then I don't need it up here at the top. So here it just adds a little bit, but then it gets, as I get puffier, my back pattern is going to get puffier. Isn't that fun? This is a fun way. See, now you can see it all. Here, I'm going to show you the most awesome thing. We're using the front. Piece number 1 is the front. What we're going to do is lower the shoulder. This is so much fun, so easy. I'm using my great big ruler. There where I'm showing you, that was a skinny place about 3/4 inch into the arm hole there. Do you see how I've drawn the little box? Straight line down and straight. Now I'm going to do a straight line across. Actually, I'm going to draw now. I need 3/8 inch off of there. I need to move my shoulder tip down 3/8 inch, so I'm going to draw a line 3/8 inch. And I'm going to make an arrow that says, Joy, move this down to here. Oh, this is the most awesome thing. I was just so excited when I saw this. Number 1, it's so simple. And I can remember it. Oh my gosh, awesome. Okay, so we're going to cut again. Oh, what I'm doing now is I'm making some matching marks, but it turned out they didn't really match, because you've got to match it at the side seam. So just match it at the side seam and straight up the line that you cut. You'll see me do it. I'm showing you I'm going to move it down after I cut it out. You really don't need those matching marks. So I'm going to have my little partial box cut out. There it is. Look at that. Look at that, isn't that awesome? Notice the entire armhole is enclosed. The whole thing, above it and below it, the whole armhole. So the armhole does not change. You can move it up or you can move it down. That's what I was showing you. It can go up. You may have a high shoulder. I have a low shoulder. So now I'm going to put it down there on that 3/8 inch line that I drew on there so I know exactly where to move it to. And I'm going to line it up on that line. I'm lining it up with the side seam, putting tape. Put tape, 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 tape the whole thing back together. Don't chintz on tape by yourself. I've got at least a dozen rolls of tape, maybe more. However many comes in one of those sets, 10 or 12. Tape it all the way to the top. Just keep taping until you get it secure. I usually find a hole here and there that I missed when I was taping. This is going to have Palmer and Plesh. They have to call it the taping system, as you use a lot of tape. But that's okay. Now I'm showing you the top. Look at the shoulder now at the top. It's got a great big notch cut out of it. See that? Yeah. It's got a notch cut out of it. Well, actually the notch, well, nothing was cut up there except for the straight line going up, and I just moved it down. So you can't sew a shoulder together in that shape, obviously. I'm putting a piece of paper so you can see it better. See how it is? You can't sew that shoulder to anything, so you have to fix it. I'm going to show you how to fix this so it's a straight line again, and you can draw the front shoulder to the back. Now remember, we're doing this exact same thing to the back. You have to do it to the front and the back. You got the same shoulder on the front and the back of you. So I'm going to tape it some more, tape it some more. Oh yes, oh yes. The tape makes it wonderful. It's just the green box, invisible tape, Scotch invisible tape that comes in a green box. All right, now let's draw a new shoulder line. Get a ruler of some denomination. I'm going to draw a line from those 2 points. Up there at the shoulder, neck, and here at the armhole, shoulder. I'm drawing an arrow at both points to show you where you draw your line to. See? So you just draw a new shoulder from the low point to the high point. And your high point may be, you know, the highest at the armhole. Depends on your shoulder. How did I determine this? I pinned the paper together and tried it on like it was a top already made. There you go. See? So there's my new shoulder line. I didn't lose my dart. That's good. My notch. It's not a dart, it's a notch. Now I'm going to lose that little bit right there I just showed you. And we're going to cut on that red line that I just drew. And that's going to be my new shoulder. Let's get my ruler. Love these Quilter Select rulers. They are wonderful. Cutting my new line. Straight, straight, straight. Now look here. Cut the extra paper off however you do your paper. I just chop off what I don't need. Look at that. There's my new shoulder. And that shoulder will fit me. And look at the tiny, tiny, tiny bit that came off. Isn't that awesome? I actually probably should have gone down at least ½ an inch, but I don't want to overdo it. I want to make one first and see how it is. And you can always sew the shoulder a little deeper if you only have to go ¼ inch. I always have huge armholes. I'm just showing you how nice it looks and how I moved it. I moved it right down there. This is where I cut up that line. You just cut your little box out. L, call it an L, a backwards L, huh? Oh. Okay, let's talk about the back here. This is the yoke that goes up on your shoulders. And I'm showing how I cut it. Did you see how I cut across? And then I cut here to the seam allowance. Then you pull it apart. Then you add paper. And that gives you the round back correction. that is needed. I'm showing you tape, lots and lots of tape. Don't just tape a little here and a little there. Tape that sucker down from beginning to end. The round back is needed for the neckline to reach high enough on your back neck. If you need a round back, the back of your shirt is not going to reach where it's supposed to if you don't put that round back in your garment. I'm trimming the extra paper off the back because it gets real cumbersome and clunky. Remember to always use a press cloth from now on because you have tape on there. Now I'm going to pin it to the bottom part of the back of the blouse. I think. There, you got to have some pins. I'm going to pin those. Now remember in the armhole to pin them away from you so they don't poke. Okay, here I have just taken this off. I pulled all the pins out. I just went into my triple mirror and tried this on, and I decided that the neck is going to gape, as necks always do when I make commercial patterns. I had the bust dart taped shut so I could try it on my body. Remember, I'm trying on a paper garment here, so I'm going to pull out the bust dart, and then I'm going to show you how I reduce the neck ease. People have asked me this many, many times, and the best way for me to tell you how I do it is to show you how I do it. Especially since I finally figured out how to narrate something. All right, now look at all that green paper. This gets bulky. Smoothing it out, smooth, smooth, smooth. Notice the bust dart. Notice all the extra in there. I have a whole extra inch there in ease. And notice how I stuck my Notice how I stuck my finger in that hole there. More tape, more tape, more tape. Tape the whole cut down from top to bottom. It will make it so much easier to work with, and especially it makes it easier to try it on. You can't have holes popping out everywhere or it won't be the right size when you're trying on the paper. Now, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands there. Okay. I'm pointing at the neck, showing how I am going to fix the neck. When I had it on my body, you can see up there it's wrinkled at the neckline because I pinched it. And you can see that I pinched quite a bit out of it to make that neckline stay at center front and not go way past center front. You know, on my body, I have to add all that extra there to get the center front to my center front down there where my hands are now. But up there at the neck, it always goes way past my center front. I'm showing you there how the bust dart is going to have to be clipped. And I'm showing you that the apex has been cut. So there's a low apex and a high apex. Never, 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 never make your bust dart to that low apex. Always. See where I am now? Always, always, always. Your apex doesn't move. Just because you do an FBA, it doesn't move your apex. I mean, it moves the paper apex, but it doesn't move yours. So be sure you always aim your dart up to the high apex point that you first drew. Put a big circle around it. Put a Swarovski crystal on it. Now I'm going to pinch that. I decided I needed a 1/2 inch tucked in up there. So what am I showing you there? I changed the shoulder. I'll show you that in a different clip. So I am going to cut from where I pinched the fullness. I am going to cut another line right to the apex. When you are doing corrections like this, you don't ever do them to the tip of your bust dart that you're going to sew. You don't ever do them to that. You do them to your actual apex. I've got my pen right on it there. I'm saying no, don't use the tip of your bust dart. Always use your apex. That is not your apex. That was the tip of the bust dart. So I'm showing you. Notice the difference. Notice the difference. Very, very important. Your bust dart never goes all the way to your apex, or it would be a snow cone garment You don't want a snow cone boob in your top. That would look very, very bad. Unless it's a costume of some sort, I suppose. So what you have to do is draw the dart back in all the way to your real apex. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut down the center of the dart from the apex. And sometimes center is variable. These colored pencils, sometimes they draw crooked, sometimes it's a little off on the ruler. So I'm going to draw the whole thing in again and make sure that I know where the center of my new dart that goes all the way to the apex, that's what I need to know. We're not going to sew it, but we are going to cut to it. We're going to cut to the real apex, cut to the real apex, cut to the real apex. I'm pointing at it. My purple pen is right above it. And I'm just rearranging my dart over there to be a styling dart. What does Glenda call that? It's a styling dart because you don't change your actual bust dart. I mean, it will change it. It will make it bigger. But you're not working with the bust dart. You're working with the apex. I hope I'm making sense. It took me a long time to not forget this. See the lines? Right through the center of the bust dart, right through the center of it, the line all the way over, because I'm going to cut on it. Now, I am going to do pivot duty here. I'm going to cut to, but not through, my apex where I drew it on there way back when I first held the paper pattern out of the envelope. I held it up to my body, and I drew where my apex goes. And then I always check it, because I know it's down 11 and a half and about 4 1/4 from center front. So as long as it's, around there, if it ends up way crazy from there, then I'll go do it again. Now see, I'm just showing you, we have a hinge duty. So now you can twist and turn, and you got all that green paper on there, and it's thicker than the pattern paper, so you have to be patient. This part takes longer than making the blouse, my friends. But when you get the blouse made, when you get the blouse made, praise the Lord. Why go to the trouble of purchasing a pattern, purchasing the fabric, cutting out the pattern, putting it all together? I'm measuring 1/2 inch there. I'm moving it over 1/2 inch because I know that's how much I pinched out of it. I'm going to draw a line because I couldn't figure it out that way. So I'm going to draw my 1/2 inch and move that over to it. You don't want to pinch that there, because if you pinched a 1/2 inch, you would have a whole inch. So you want to cut and fold it over. Folding it, I've seen Peggy Sagers do folding before, but I'd rather do it this way. Now, can you see the bust dart has the big slice in the middle of it now? That's going to stay there. I'm going to add more paper to it. That's the real bust dart now. I have taken in the neck. I'll have to correct the curve, the neck curve. I'll have to correct it just a tiny bit. You can do that when you cut it out. It's not hard at all. You don't want a little notch there. More tape, lots of tape. I use 1/2 inch tape. See, I'm showing you 1/2 inch tape. 3/4 inch is too fat for this. 1/2 inch works really good. That's what Palmer and Plesh. This system is called Palmer and Plesh, by the way. There's my removable tape. I'm showing you how fat it is. And you can also get the removable tape 1/2 inch. But the removable tape's kind of nice to be fat, because then you can tell, the fat one's removable and the skinny one's not removable. And sometimes when you're doing this, especially if you're new at it, it's a good idea to use removable tape. Because if you make a mistake, you can take all the tape off and put the pattern back together the way it was. Very helpful. What am I showing you on the back? I have no idea. You can see the dart again, how it's got the big slice in it there. See it? That has to be filled in and you are going to make a bigger dart. You have to, because you just moved the fullness of the neckline into it. I don't know why it works. I really don't. I'm showing you here how you're going to have to fold the new dart and cut the side seam in order to correct the outer point of the dart. It looks like there's two darts there, but there aren't. The lower one is what you start out with when you're doing your FBA, but that's not what you end up with. So I've got top number 2. Remember, I cut 2 of these out at the same time. You saw the picture. This is the second one. Now, I didn't go ahead and finish the second one. I wanted to finish the first one and see if there was anything I didn't like about it. And of course, there were several things I didn't like about it. I didn't like all the E's in it. I didn't like the neckline. I showed you my Lorraine E's that I added to the back. I don't need that. I ended up taking it all out. So I'm just going to remove that correction, put the pattern back the way it was. The next thing I'm going to do, and of course I can't do anything here except cut it off the side. You know, I can't cut the center out of it, which is where I added it there. I'm sure that makes sense. I'm just going to cut some off the side here. Does that make sense? But I'm going to fix this in case I make it again. So how did I determine how I wanted my neck? I just took this, moved it forward, and pulled it down like this. And I thought, I wonder if I'd like the neck better down there. And I do. So I'm just going to figure out real easy, okay, this is to here. When the neck is where it's supposed to be, what's the difference between here and here? Now this is how technical I get, y'all. What's the difference between here and here? I'm going to say 1/2 inch. And I also want it back on the shoulders a little bit because it grabs my hair too much. When I take it off and put it on, it grabs my hair too much. And I don't like that because my hair is hard to fix and it's a one hairdo a day, and I just hate it when it gets all messed up and I have to fix it again. So I'm going to first take the paper and make the new neck. See, this doesn't have the V on it yet or anything because the V is made after you put the facing on. So I am going to fix the neck in the paper because I can still put the paper up to my pattern at the neck and lower it. Now, do you see the difference? I can do that even though this is already cut out. But I can't cut this wedge out of the middle of my material over there. So what I'll do is I'll just cut the edge off of the material. Okay? I think that makes sense. Another thing I don't like is I think the sleeves are too short, which is amazing because I usually think they're too long. And I had to take a bunch out of the sleeve. The sleeve was 14 inches down here. I only need like 12 inches. 12 is plenty. I had to narrow the sleeve a lot, and I did that when I made the sleeve. You want to see how I do that too? Where's the sleeve pattern? So it has a 1 1/4 inch hem. So you fold, I folded it up on the actual sleeve now, remember? 1 1/4 inch hem. Then I drew a line from, I don't want to change here underneath I don't want to change the armhole. I just want to make the sleeve smaller, but I have to leave the armhole this big or it won't fit into my blouse. It'll be too small. So I just draw an angled line down here and chop off like a 1/2 inch here. So then I have to fix the hem allowance to go at an angle too, so they fold up into each other. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, tell me and I'll do it in more detail. So let's get the front. This is the back. Let's get the back away from here so I quit picking it up. And let's get the front. So I've decided I want to lower the front a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to get one of my colored markers. Here's a nice red one. Be sure it's a friction. And I'm going to lower the center front 1/2 inch. And you'll need your curve to do this. 1/2 inch right there. I want to move the shoulder. I want to move this part right here. I want to move it over. So I'm only going to move it over 1/4 inch, or maybe 3/8. I think 3/8. Why not 1/2? I don't know. I don't want it to get so my bra shows. I hate it if my bra shows. So I think I'll just do 3/8 there. Then you get your French curve. You got to have your French curve. Right here's one. I'm making a new curve from the top of the shoulder. From here to here, I'm making a new curve. The blouse I'm wearing is this blouse. I don't know if I've even made that clear yet. This is Simplicity 9274 and this is Simplicity 9274. Okay, you cannot see that very good. Let me get a better marker so you can see it. I want to get a color you can see here. We'll try this green. This is a friction marker also, but it's a marker, not a pen. Or it's a wide tip, not a skinny tip. Now remember, the center front always has to be a 90-degree angle. So don't forget that. 90-degree angle right there at center front. I still think this is too light for you to see, so let's try blue. This is a Sharpie, and it does not erase with an iron or with water. But you can see it, and that's the whole idea. We need to be able to see this. All right, let's do our 90-degree. Our 90-degree right here. You line it up with center front, and then you draw a straight line. I'm going to put some dashes here so you can see what I'm going to remove here. All of this dash part, this is 3/8 here. This is 1/2 inch here. All of this is going to get cut off. Don't worry about the seam allowance. That's how far I want it to come down. And so I'm just cutting that much off altogether. The seam allowance will still be there. Okay, don't worry about that. Now in some cases you may need to, but in this case I know that this is going to come down that far, seam allowance and all. Now you have to line up the back shoulder to match your new front shoulder. Don't forget to do that, or your front and your back won't sew together. So let's find the back. Remember, in this case the back is a yoke. We're going to line up the shoulders right there. And I'm just going to mark that line. I can see through the paper, so I'm just going to mark that line at the seam allowance and go up. Then I've got to redraw the back neckline. Now the back neckline is not drawn the same as the front neckline. And I don't really care that it's any particular amount lower. So I'll just draw it to where it looks good. Let's see. You put your curve like this. And there's the new 5/8 inch line. And so we'll just line that up like that. I think I will come down 1/2 inch in the back, just to make it the same. Now remember, I've already made a muslin. I wouldn't do this when I open the brand new pattern and I start from that. Make it one time first. There we go. So that's going to be my new back neck. Now draw your notches back in. Leave this on here if you want to. And just like fold it down out of your way. You can do it like that. But this is going to be my new neckline. Lower in the back and lower in the front. And I'm going to make it right away. Now here's something very, very, very important. If you make a change in one piece, it most likely will require other changes, and this will. Why? Because there's a facing on the front. There's a facing on the back. The facing isn't going to fit anymore because I just destroyed the whole neckline on the facing when I did this. So this is the facing for the front. I already adjusted it for my other changes that I did, but it's going to have to get adjusted again. You might just want to draw a whole new one. That might be the easiest. And this is where your slit comes from, right here in the middle. So I will make a new front facing, and I will make a new back facing. Then I will put my new pattern up to my material that's already cut out here. I'll have to unsew the shoulders, but that's not a problem. Then I will cut the new neck in the front, the new neck in the back, and then I'll finish making this, and I'll come back and show you this one all done before I finish this video. How about that? Okay, pardon the thunder outside. I'm showing you here how I am going to redraw the facings. That's the back neck facing there, and I've already redrawn it. The white one is the new one. And you can see I just put a piece of paper down there, and I drew a new facing, and then I cut it out. So here's the front. Now, the original facing is a hole. It's got both shoulders on it, but my pattern's exactly the same, so I can cut it on the fold. So I just made half a facing, and I'll cut my facing on the fold and still get, oh, so sorry about the lightning and the thunder, my friends. We canceled our trip to Oklahoma City for obvious reasons. It's supposed to be this way all week. You can see how if I flip it over, it's the other half of the front. Okay? And I've got the little lines drawn there so I know where to sew the V that we're going to cut out of the front. I'm wadding up the old facings, tossing those, don't need them anymore, because I have a new back neck and a new front neck. Here I'm showing you how I took a friction marker and I marked the sewing lines. I'm going to sew on the facing side, and I have marked the sewing lines very, very dark with a friction pen so I can see exactly where to sew. Now down at the very bottom, I go over one stitch on the point. Good morning. It's Sunday. It's let me see, July 16, I think, today. And this is the last clip I'm going to do in this little tutorial video for you. Remember, we're making Simplicity 9274, and I have been showing you how I fixed the paper in order to make sure that the fabric is going to fit me when I get it done. The first one, I made two. I cut two out. The first one turned out fine, except I thought the neck was a little high on it. And I also shortened it quite a bit because I thought, oh, I'm not wearing this with leggings, just shorten it. And then I decided on the second one that I did like it longer. And I'm not going to wear it with the stretchy legging pants, whatever you call those things. But I am going to wear it with like straight leg, stretchy, that aren't baggy. Most of the pants I've made myself in the past are so baggy. I've got to start over on a new pattern for that. So, you know, I can make the looser, longer tops and the pants won't be so full. You know, the rule supposedly is full on the top, tight on the bottom. Full on the bottom, tight on the top. Whatever you consider tight, okay? Nowadays, I don't want tight anything on my body anywhere. Oh, well, there is one thing, my hair. I'd be really thrilled if my hair would quit falling out. So this is number 2. I like it very much, so much that I'm going to make a number 3. And I'm going to make a number 3 in just a solid, so I can just wear it over any color of pants. Slit. Slit. I ordered some fabric from Peggy Sager Silhouette Patterns the other day, and I bought a piece of cotton that's an off-white cream color, and I got 3 yards of it, I think, and it's very wide. So I think I'm just going to make some solid off-white colored tops, and that way you can just wear them with anything. So that's my next, and I'm going to use this pattern because now I don't have to worry about it anymore. I cut. Look, here's the back. In the video, you remember the back. I did the Lorraine Henry system, and I added all that fullness in here. I cut this seam away, pulled it out, and added all that fullness in here. I took it all out, cut it, out of here, and look at it's plenty big. So this pattern, even though it says I wear a size 20, this is a size 14 down here. It's a 14 down here, it's a 12 up here. Go figure. This is why I highly recommend the paper fitting first. It may not be your favorite garment you ever made, like the pink one. I wasn't crazy about the pink. I thought, I don't look that good in pink today. And I didn't like the collar up so high. But it's wearable, and I didn't like the sleeve. I lengthened this sleeve an inch. I didn't like the sleeve, but it's definitely wearable. So it's not something I made out of real muslin that I would end up throwing away, is my point. Because my first muslin is actually the paper. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And I hope that maybe I helped you to learn how to do the fitting so you can make it to fit you. The pattern company doesn't know your figure. The pattern company doesn't know what you like. They don't know where your apex is. They don't know where the widest part of your hips is. They don't know if you have a tummy or you don't have a tummy. But I'll tell you what they do. They think nobody has a tummy. Anyway, I had a tummy when I was 5, so I'm going to let you go for now. Leave me a comment and leave me, please, if you want to, a thumbs up. And what else? Subscribe. Because that really, as I hear everybody say, that really helps my channel. You know how it helps it? I don't think it's so much financial, although that if somebody watches me because you did those things, then maybe they'll watch the commercials and maybe more people will watch me and then maybe I'll get a little bit more money. But the thing about it is, if you do the thumbs up and if you subscribe and if you leave a comment, all of those things tell YouTube, hey, people like her, they like to watch her. If somebody asks for a video about sewing, let's show them her video. See? Because like if I search right now for sewing videos, or if I search embroidery videos, the first person that's going to come up is Becky Thompson. Becky Thompson's everywhere for embroidery. And she deserves to be. I don't know when the girl finds time to sleep. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this to make a living. I'm doing this just for something to do every day to entertain myself. And it's nice to get the check every month because then I can go buy more stuff and show you how I put it together. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. Love you all. Bye for now.